Welcome to Independent Sources. I'm Garry Pierre-Pierre.
And I'm Vianora Vinca. Independent Sources is a show about news being reported by a vital and vibrant source of information in New York, the ethnic media. On each episode, you'll hear different voices and views on issues in the news as we talk with journalists who work for ethnic and immigrant newspapers, TV and radio stations, and websites. On this premiere episode, we profile the two oldest ethnic newspapers in New York, and we explore the meaning of the terms ethnic and mainstream in a multicultural city like New York. But first, what's fueling the growth of ethnic media? Almost daily, mainstream media report gloomy stories about, well, mainstream media, cuts and consolidations, downsizing and downturns. While the number of ethnic newspapers, magazines, and broadcast outlets is growing. In New York alone, there are more than 300 ethnic publications. For many immigrants, these papers and other media are a link to what was left behind. We have two reports, Michelle Garcia in Brooklyn and Anjanette Levert in Queens.
Within eyeshot of Coney Island, Brighton Beach spills into the Atlantic Ocean. For the last 30 years, Brighton Beach has been the first stop in the U.S. for Russian Jews from the former Soviet Union, which is why this oceanside neighborhood is now known as Little Odessa. Many of those immigrants have moved on, though, to other neighborhoods, but they keep coming back for Russian treats and news about Russians here and abroad.
Once a week, I have to come to Brooklyn just for this event. So it's an excellent true newspaper.
Which newspapers do you read?
Well, Meridian and Forward.
But the Russian language newspapers printed in the U.S. don't grab everyone. Some are turned off by the emphasis on local and tabloid news.
So I prefer internet. I prefer the Russian newspaper from the Moscow. They're more interesting.
I don't really read Russian newspapers because, it's not the people I chill with. You know?
1 block away, Nadia Ganaposki reaches for a few papers to take back home with her.
I gotta buy a TV guide because we have 4 Russian channels at home which we're watching, and also the newspaper New Meridian.
So what are they saying about the new president?
People think he's not very independent. He's still gonna do what Putin will say. Russia is a very unpredictable country, so that's why I'm here.
For Independent Sources, I'm Michelle Garcia.
The Jackson Heights neighborhood in Queens is the epicenter of the South Asian community in New York City. We ventured into the Indian and Bangladesh neighborhoods to find out why people read their newspapers.
We read our Bengali newspaper to know about the country, what's happening there right now.
The newspapers link persons living abroad with home, especially during disaster.
These newspapers also do, highlight those things and encourage people to help people who's in trouble back home. So it really helps a lot.
Apart from news, the papers help readers keep traditions.
I'm a Muslim. Sometimes I get some festivals from my country which are being celebrated in my country, so we can celebrate here too. We love our culture, traditions, and we try to keep that cultures, traditions, even in America, as it is.
And then there are other reasons to read the papers.
The movie stuff and everything, because it's very famous among our cultures and everything, and and all the ongoing events that happens here. I love to read those news also.
When I'm not getting those newspapers, I will miss my country. I will miss something that I can't express.
Anjanette Levert for Independent Sources.
Language is definitely an important link for immigrants. In the New York area, Chinese outnumber other Asian groups, and Chinese language dailies outnumber newspapers in any other language. Zaifas Lebron visited Chinatown and found that reading the newspaper is a way of maintaining cultural identity.
Columbus Park in downtown Chinatown buzzes with the sound of men playing checkers under a canopy of trees. Away from that hubbub, others are speckled around the park, hunched over, engrossed in their newspapers. Hong Kong Chen sometimes comes to the park to read either of the two major newspapers that serve New York's Chinese community, World Journal and Singtao Daily.
Well, usually I buy the Singtao the first. Sometimes you see the journal paper, he got a lot for the restaurant job. Maybe sometimes no job, I find the other paper.
While Chen sometimes reads the paper to find employment, it's more of a means of maintaining cultural identity in other households. Leo Chen is 25 and has read the papers since moving here with his parents 13 years ago.
My parents are like big fans of Singtao, you know.
So they've passed that on to you?
Somewhat, yeah.
Do you think you're gonna encourage your kids to
my kids, you know, just, yeah, I would.
I got 3 kids on my own, and then I send them to Chinese school every Saturday.
So do they read the paper with you?
It's not that easy. It's hard, but, you know, at least they know some things that, you know, pick up work here, work there.
Carol Lu was born here and also went to Chinese school. She sharpened her language skills by reading the Chinese papers, but later on abandoned that practice.
About what age do you think that you kind of stopped reading the paper and kind of fell out of using your Chinese more?
Probably 11, 12, from middle school age. Okay. Want to do other things instead of having to go to Chinese school.
On the other hand, she says her father steeps himself in both cultures.
He was able to read English papers, but I think he felt comfort with Chinese, and he also reads both. I think it gives him some comfort or a way to kind of to find out more things about the local community.
Zaifas Lebron, Independent Sources.
It makes sense that language plays a role in the popularity of ethnic media, especially in New York, where more than 170 languages are spoken, and there are newspapers in at least 40 of them. Still, in a city with such diversity, it also makes sense that many people get their news from various sources. Judith Escalona talked to New Yorkers in the Bronx who like to mix their media.
Mike Amadeo is the owner of Casa Amadeo, the oldest Latin music record store in New York. We asked him how he gets his news.
When I get up in the morning and I press my radio button, I listen to news, that's wins. If I'm going to listen to, it's always news and sports.
And what about news from the old country?
Remember that we have now Guapa TV. If you put it on, Guapa TV is on TV here, and I have it in my channel, so I get information from there. I get a lot.
Guapa is a television station in Puerto Rico carried over satellite. Newsstands are really multi-purpose kiosks where you can spend $1 for a dream or 50 cents for hard news. Doris Sanis, a city employee, scans the headlines in Spanish and English.
He encontrado muy poco de la comunidad latina en los periódicos americanos, en inglés sobre todo, porque yo pienso que es que ellos se han creído que nosotros los hispanos no leemos esos periódicos.
While today it's easier to find newspapers from the old country, it's even more convenient and cheaper to surf the web for them. Clarisel Gonzalez, a journalist, is the founding editor of 2 blogs, Puerto Rico Sun and Bronx Latino.
I'm looking at newspapers online, and most of the time the way I get to a lot of the stories are through searches. You know, I know what I'm looking for, so I'm going in, searching, and pretty much get the newspapers that are covering, the headlines that are covering stories that are of interest to me.
In Spanish and English, surf the web, watch TV, or read the newspapers. It's a matter of choice. For Independent Sources, I'm Judith Escalona.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll bring you some recent headlines from the ethnic media.
New York is about stories, about people, about neighborhoods. What things change, what things stay the same. I'm Wayne Swoboda, here in Flushing, Queens, the most ethnically diverse county in the country. I've worked as a journalist or professor in London in Africa, in Prague in Kosovo, in Moscow in Asia and Iowa. New York looks like all these places. It looks like the world. It looks like America. In the core class I teach on the craft of journalism, I send my students to neighborhoods like this one in Flushing. I help them learn how to find things out in this vibrant, powerful, complicated city, and then write a tight, pithy story on what they've seen. The process is a kick. Join us.
Welcome back to Independent Sources. There's a lot of news that's fit to print in the ethnic media. Here are some stories that made headlines recently in ethnic newspapers. From the Haitian Times, in Haiti, some of the demonstrators who orchestrated recent food riots were temporarily quieted after accepting U.S.-sponsored jobs created for them in Haiti. From El Diario La Prensa, in New York City, surging food prices have put the squeeze on the local bodega owners. The Jamaica Gleaner reports that makers of the Jamaican beer Red Stripe announced they will no longer underwrite the popular Jamaican festivals Sting and Sumfest. According to the paper, Red Stripe representatives said they were cutting off the funds to music groups known for lyrics that encourage violence against gays and lesbians. Korea Times New York reports that Korean Americans are renouncing their Korean citizenship by the hundreds. Most were born in the U.S. to Korean parents, and if they have not fulfilled a mandatory 3-year military service dictated by the Korean state, they can be forcibly conscripted once they reach Korean soil. And how's $8 as an airfare for a transatlantic trip? Well, that's about how much some Irish travelers have paid to fly with Aer Lingus. The airline argued that the bargain fares were the result of a misprint. The National Consumer Agency in Ireland ordered the airline to honor the fares. That from Irish America magazine. Now back to Garry in the studio.
Thanks, Vianora. We've been using ethnic and mainstream to make a distinction between different segments of the news industry. And these are terms that are generally understood. But what do these labels really mean in a city where 40% of the population is foreign-born, and so-called minorities are actually the majority? To help figure this out, I'm joined by Alberto Vourvoulias-Bush, Executive Editor, El Diario La Prensa. Also with us, Philip Kasinitz. He is Professor of Sociology at CUNY and co-author of Inheriting the City, The Children of Immigrants Come of Age. Before we get into the discussion, let's take a look at a report by producer Michelle Garcia. She interviews the editors of 2 newspapers that serve the same community, but see this issue through different eyes.
The Irish. They were among the first New Yorkers, and they stamped the city in green. Irish culture is now considered part of the country's mainstream. But these are new times with new immigrants who are reshaping what it means to be a New Yorker, an American, and part of the mainstream.
We are living in New York, in a city that is in the midst of so much change. We can't really understand even what the changes mean always because we're in the midst of it. 37% of New York City's population is immigrant. 60% are children of immigrants and immigrants. That's huge. That's the dominant population in New York. So where's the mainstream? I don't know.
The Irish, with over a century in New York, claim an ethnic identity and a stake in mainstream society. And this is played out visibly between 2 leading newspapers. The Irish Echo considers itself a mainstream paper.
I think the mainstream aspect is more to do with just longevity, history of Irish America in general. And again, maybe the fact that it's English language, I think, is a possibility.
Not exactly, says Niall O'Dowd, publisher of the Irish Voice.
I think they're wrong. Why are they mainstream? Would any non-Irish person buy their paper? That's the definition of a mainstream paper.
The Irish Voice considers their readers an ethnic group.
We have a particular niche in a wonderful city called New York, where 20% of the population has said they're of Irish extraction, and we reach out to them. This idea that we're all deracinated and nobody's anything but American just doesn't fly.
The Irish Voice vigorously reports on immigration issues, and the Echo prides itself on its New York Irish news.
Here you have the police commissioner in New York, Mr. Mainstream. You have the former First Lady, possible future president, Mrs. Mainstream. You have Aer Lingus meets JetBlue, two mainstream jetstream airlines.
This is murky territory.
You know, here we're getting into the popular notion of what mainstream is. I think if you ask many Americans what mainstream is, it's associated with whiteness and it's associated with middle classness.
But with changing demographics, that may go the way of Ellis Island. Mainstream to Ray O'Hanlon is the sum of its ethnic parts.
If by some miracle I could click my fingers and extract all Irishness from America and American culture, what would it be like? Be interesting. It would not be the same.
And for today's generation, a connection to roots remains important. It's what lured Meghan Sweeney to the Irish Voice.
You know, even though my family came over here years and years and years ago, it's still, I mean, I'm proud of myself for wanting to, you know where I come from. And I think, at least my good friends, I can say, kind of respect that, so.
Keeping that link alive is crucial for the paper. Niall O'Dowd at the Irish Voice says it's important in telling the American story.
What makes them ethnic is the fact that they came here on coffin ships. They went through no Irish need apply signs. They spent many generations trying to climb the ladder of the great American dream. And when they made it, a significant number of them never forgot where they came from. And that's why they're ethnic.
As New York undergoes the latest Great Migration, the story of the Irish, ethnic or mainstream, should at the very least inform our spirit of being an American.
If we do one thing as a paper, maybe if we just constantly or periodically remind our readers of that, that's a good thing, and it's as good a reason to exist as anything else.
Alberto, the Irish situation should sound familiar to your readers. Now, El Diario La Prensa is in Spanish, but it also covers not only New York City, 20 different countries at least. So how do you get your hands around this story?
It's, I don't know, mainstream and ethnic. It's all on the view, in the eye of the beholder, it seems to me. The El Diario is 95 years old. We're older than the Irish Echo. And yet at the same time, whenever I speak of El Diario to reporters who work for English language publications, their impression is that they view us as ethnic media. And they treat us in a certain way, which is different from the way they treat what they view as mainstream media. We have many more readers than most English language publications in New York. We have, as you mentioned, we have international stringers that file only for us in Latin America. We have a national bureau. We have national stories. We have investigative pieces that don't appear anywhere else and are not simply the Hispanic or Spanish language version of what appears in the English language press. And yet, I would argue we're a journalistic source, period, whatever you want to call us. But it depends on who's looking at you, whether they see us as ethnic or they see us as mainstream.
Professor Kasinitz, in the last 30 years, we've seen a tremendous change in New York City. We have a new wave of immigrants coming in. Now, tell us, how different is this wave from the past waves, particularly in how they consume the news?
Well, obviously there are a great many differences. Compared to earlier waves of immigration, for one thing, this is far, far more diverse a wave of immigrants.
How so?
Well, they're coming really from almost everywhere on the planet. We think of polyglot New York of the early 20th century as having people from all over the place, and of course it had predominantly Europeans, although a wide variety of Europeans, as well as some folks from the Caribbean. But now, I mean, it's just, it's hard to find what's the mainstream press, whenever there's a problem somewhere in the world, they go to the neighborhood in Queens and interview the people's cousins. It's hard to find any place in the U.S., in the world rather, that doesn't have some community here now. And I think that certainly changes the way people consume media. You have, on the one hand, very particular kinds of papers for very recent immigrants that are really doing news from home.
Like what?
I'm thinking some of the Asian papers, for example, for whom the primary job is to keep people in touch with what's going on at home. But then over time, papers like the Irish Echo or El Diario La Prensa become something else. They are New York papers that see New York specifically through the point of view, and in some cases through the language of their readers.
Alberto, immigration is clearly on the American political agenda, but for your readers, it's more visceral. So how do you cover immigration?
Well, we cover immigration very carefully and a lot. And you're exactly right. It's very important to us for many reasons. Many of our readers have immigration concerns. Everyone I know knows someone, has a relative, a friend, an employer, a client who has some issue with their visa status. And so the New York I know is deeply affected by the immigration debate. So one of the main differences is that we cover immigration as a daily life issue, as an issue that is woven through the fabric of society. And we don't approach it as a border issue, as a national security issue, all these distancing approaches, which are valid if you want to reach certain types of conclusion, but which don't reflect the way the New Yorkers we know live. In addition to that, immigration for us is a good example of something that the English language media didn't cover at all until 500,000 people turned out on the streets of Chicago to demand immigration reform, a fair immigration reform. And the next week, 1 million people turned out in the streets of LA. Until that moment, there was almost no coverage of immigration in the English language press.
Great. Professor Kasinitz, I was reading a review on your book, and one interesting point that the reviewer said about your book, which I haven't read anywhere else, about the role of the ethnic media and press, is that it serves as a link between middle class and working class immigrants and help share cultural capital. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, well, one of the things I think particularly that in some communities, let me take back a step. Immigrant communities in New York differ a lot in terms of how differentiated they are. Some are largely working class communities or poor communities, but many are actually communities that have a vast array of people of different social statuses and of different social classes, different levels of education and class background. And the ethnic media is one of the places where all of those folks can speak to each other. And there's certain communities, I think the reviewer was actually specifically looking at Chinese New York,
yes,
where one of the interesting things about the Chinese community is that although it's a community that's predominantly working class, it's really diverse in terms of the class backgrounds of the people who come here. And people of different social classes do tend to speak to each other. And and they speak mostly through the mechanism of the ethnic media. And that has probably been one of the real important factors in terms of the way that community has been shaped, and in terms of the social mobility of poorer people in that community, because even poorer people very often have some knowledge of middle-class institutions that comes from the fact that they're sharing a media with more middle-class people.
Okay. Interesting. Any final words?
Ethnic media in New York is incredibly rich. I have a friend who says that Brooklyn is covered, it's the 4th largest city in the United States and is covered by 4 full-time reporters. But he only says that because he's ignoring a wide and rich ethnic media that covers the city.
Alberto Vourvoulias-Bush, Professor Philip Kasinitz, thank you for being here, and we'll be right back after this break.
Every time trees are destroyed to make paper, we lose something that can't be replaced.
You have the power to stop this.
Insist that the paper you buy is tree-free.
Insist on it.
Help us win the paper campaign.
Welcome back. We've talked about the growth of ethnic media over the past decade, but the ethnic press has a long history in this city. Zyphus Lebron profiles New York's 2 oldest ethnic newspapers.
When J.J. Goldberg took over the Jewish Forward at the start of the new millennium, he and the owners had a mission: return the paper to what he calls old-fashioned Jewish liberalism.
There was a sense, I guess, in the 1970s and 80s, that the Jewish community was moving to the right. It had more to do with a few prominent voices who were getting involved in the Republican Party than any real shift on the street among the mass of Jews.
The move to the left was a hearkening back to 1897, when Jewish union members from the Socialist Labor Party each donated a day's pay for the startup cost of the paper. The Forward became a powerful political tool in New York, rallying Jews to vote in droves. The paper was also the means through which the community voiced its differences.
When the Forward first came out, it could say anything it wanted to because non-Jews couldn't read it. So you could have all of the fights between the Jewish right and the Jewish left. You could have exposés about Jewish gangsters, sleazy Jewish landlords. Whatever you wanted, it was all fair game.
That changed with the decline of Yiddish as the Forward's only language. As the paper was predominantly printed in English, the editors worried that open debates would fire up anti-Semites. Today, Goldberg encourages his staff to have no such reservations.
We're having the open discussion that Jews used to have with each other in the Yiddish language, only we're having it in English.
So that everybody can see.
Well, everybody can see, but our main point is if we hide because we don't want everybody else to see, then we can't see, and then we don't have a community anymore.
A community, Goldberg says, that does not need or want protection anymore. He says that sort of ethnic defending is better left to new immigrant media that are now what the Forward was to the Jews and the Amsterdam News had been for blacks in the United States.
We need to be the voice of those who cannot speak for themselves. And it is our mission to be able to bring the issues that affect our communities to the forefront, because no one else will do it for us.
Tatum has taken on a similar role at the Amsterdam News as Goldberg has at the Forward. Since succeeding her father in 1997, she's brought the first computer to the newsroom and is once again encouraging reporters to reach out to the community.
Well, I think the paper has gotten much more back to the news aspect. There were several years there in the late 80s and early 90s where there was a lot of social news and not as much hard news, not as much information for readers, but more the social aspects of our community. And I think that that has been a very positive thing in terms of getting more news out to our community so people have more information to live their everyday lives with.
Equally important is increasing the paper's circulation. When civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois was a regular contributor during the early 1940s, the weekly had a circulation of over 100,000. Today, the paper barely reaches a third of those people.
Do you foresee going back to such a large print run of about 50,000?
I would love to, and I would like to make that even larger than that. And it is something we are working on, and we're finding ways to partner with people to increase our circulation.
Tatum hopes these partnerships can return the Amsterdam News to its once lofty status of being the paper of record for the black community.
We are what the historians are going to go back to. And if we do not have those records intact, then we will lose whole histories of communities within our city. You look at the Amsterdam News from any particular week, and you look at a daily newspaper from that same week, you'll see two different New Yorks. And to get a true picture of a city, you need to look at their independent press, because without it, you only get a part of the picture.
That's our show. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time. And remember, be independent-minded.